Like I always say, I don't know. And I really don't. How could you share something if you don't know? Well, the cat just came in. I'll take that as a sign. She always comes in before I make a video. So maybe there is something to share here. I thank you for being here this week. I love you all. God bless and welcome. So I don't know, so much to share, so little time, so many uncertainties. Here I'm looking at a map of Africa. We see a year down here of 1570. Okay, 1570 Africa. Looks pretty happening. Castles everywhere. Rivers everywhere. And today, I was trying to track down some of these castle cities. We have an expression in English that says way out in Timbuktu. Here's Timbuktu along this river. And I'm looking for a river that goes all the way across the landmass, like we saw on this old map. And it kind of looks like Timbuktu somewhere around here. I could be wrong, but there's not many big rivers that really fit this bill. I think this is it. St. Louis here has this river, comes in here, bordering Senegal to the west. River continues and then seems to kind of split in two directions, and that could be this part here. And it should continue to a big lake, Lacus Guber, with a castle city both on the coastline and inside the lake. And really these names are not the names that we have today. All different names. Like here below the lake we see Chigi, and it looks like it kind of fizzles out right here before connecting back with Timbuktu to the east. And I think this may be the point we're looking at with the lake just southwest of Timbuktu. And we see a lot of strangeness, like this here. These scrapes in the desert, but a pretty decent gap here. About 150 miles where the rivers don't connect anymore. And what about the lake? Lake Guber, Borno Lake, further east, and then another equal distance and we would hit the Nile. So here we see the Nile, equal distance, equal distance. So it's to say this may be a lake, perhaps here as well, but no doubt they're gone. And we can do the same thing to the south here. Another big lake in the center, and an even bigger one, in fact the biggest one, down here to the south. And how interesting they call it the Amazonian region, just a generic term. And what about this lake? Can we see it? We do see this one to the east here, but to the southwest we should have this great big one, and it seems to be gone. Is it this white patch now totally dried out? I mean, this looks like an old dried salty lake bed, about exactly where the biggest lake in Africa was in 1570. Now just a desert. All these castle cities along rivers connecting the whole of Africa. Like you could travel everywhere. And just to the east of this now dry lake bed is something I want to show you. Some old ruin. Really about 300 miles to the east. Okay, here we are, 300 miles to the east of this lake. We have a castle city called Betsum, some mountains. These seem to be the mountains here. And actually this site is west of the mountains. Could be any of these. And today it's called Great Zimbabwe. Let's zoom in and I'll show you. So we have all these castles in 1570. And today we have things like this. Now this is just one. An archaeological site, Great Zimbabwe. Can we drop the man? Yes. Okay, let's start right here. So here we go. We have castle cities on the map in 1570. Now a lot of people would say these map makers were crazy. There's no castles out there. And that's why I'm showing this today. Is this not the ruins of something absolutely spectacular? Now almost looking unimpressive if it weren't for its massiveness and imposing footprint. Great Zimbabwe National Monument. Let's go in for another man dropping. And what in the hell happened to this castle city? One of thousands that we see on these old maps. Now just a national African park, a tourist site from 1570. Now up here, and in fact everywhere. It's not just this area. These are everywhere. They're buried under the trees and rubble. Here we can see a little hut village, some hut bordering these super advanced ruins. See if we can drop the man down here. No. And some really impressive ones up here on the hill. So they call these the hill ruins. This really reminding me of Yonaguni National Monument, sites that we find both underwater and on the coastline of Japan. And this is beautiful. This is a great proof for a lot of different things. Here, for example, the Yonaguni-esque features. So you can see the block walls fusing into these, what might seem natural to some people, rock. And that brings me to my next point. Pause. So here we are in Baljinak, a small island in the Adriatic Sea, located off the coast of Croatia. This was originally shared by Mick at the Rebel Without a Pause channel 4 years ago. And on a YouTube post, his daughter has recently informed us of his passing. I considered him a friend for many years in this community, and he will be missed. God bless Mick. And he's left us a treasure of excellent videos and research. He loved doing this research, like most of us who do. And upon his passing, I remembered that I have wanted to share this for years. And here we go. Absolutely fascinating. 34-acre island. And here they say it resembles a fingerprint, which it does, but not the point. Let's look a little closer here. So here we go. The island. Same thing we were just looking at in Great Zimbabwe. The footprint, the mere foundation of a city. And it's unbelievable. It's not just this island. It's everything. It's all of the islands in this area. Like something has completely been wiped out. Subdevelopments, neighborhood. And when we start looking closely, we see advanced building methods, just like we did at the Great Zimbabwe Monument in Africa. So when they found this island, it was covered in growth, and we're told the locals cleared it out so they were farming on it. And now I think it's a tourist area. And essentially it's just out of sight. Even in this old map, it would be up here, just north. And what do they say about this island? What happened to this city? Essentially, they don't know where these dry stone walls came from. Fascinating local legends of this island offer a glimpse into both history and mystery. The island reflects the traditional agricultural practices of the Dalmatian region, showcasing the hard work of local farmers. The island is currently on the UNESCO list for cultural heritage, and I really don't know what else to say about it. Just evidence of history that has been lost, both here in Croatia, down here in Africa. And if we didn't see the evidence, like we just have, well, we would have a clue left behind by these map makers. Africa in 1570 was not what it is today. Seems to have had a lot more water, cities, castles, and totally different names, indicating a different people. So let's take a pause. So somebody shared this with me, frustrations about Fort Blockhouse being sold, one of the UK's oldest sea forts. I always love these stories. I mean, we could go to Africa and Croatia, talk about 1570, but here we have a fort, Fort Blockhouse in Gosport, thought, look at the wording, thought to be the UK's oldest sea fort, dating back to 1431, so earlier than this map by Ortelius. Fort blockhouse is being sold. And here we can see her in a photo. Artificially constructed coastline, massive walls, castle back here, tons of buildings, tons of brick for sale. A former military establishment. And here the UK, or the Ministry of Defense, has the site listed for disposal since 2016. There we go. We must dispose of history. It's thought to be the oldest sea fort, but it has been listed for disposal by the Ministry of Defense. Here we can see a little bit of the brick behind her. And currently, this lady is complaining that it's impossible to get access to the Fort Blockhouse site. And she was frustrated, I think because she rented it to Warner Brothers. I mean, this whole article is about Warner Brothers tour almost being blocked. And have you been here? Can any of you confirm if this is actually off limits? This article is from 2025 September, and the site is for sale. And here again we can see it. And do these not look like the wiped out islands we were just looking at? Is this what would be left? And this will have been all star fortification. All of it. Not built by our modern people, our brethren. No. And proof is that they don't know. They don't even know, as we just read. They believe it's the oldest fort dating back to the 1400s. Sorry. And even while I was zooming into this, I mean, it's not hard to find evidence in the UK. I mean, if this was in North America, it would have been demolished and sold by now. That's all. We've looked at old New York City. Battery Park used to be Fort Amsterdam, looking like this. And have a look today, just to add to my point. Totally not being used for anything. They want to sell it. And let's get some boots out here if we can. But anyway, as I was approaching this site, just how this research works, I see another star fort right here. It's called the Courtyard. Here we can see Castle Field. Still not my point. Unbelievable everywhere here. I put a pin. Here we go. Fort Cumberland. Another star fort. A couple miles away. And all the star forts built by people before our people. We have the same star forts in North America that we're told date back to the French in some cases, to the Dutch, and often a lot of uncertainties. Some star forts are given credit to the Civil War, even if they were far away from the battle. In my last video, we discussed Fort Jefferson, a brick fortification built in the middle of the water. I mean, having to create land. So, let us take a pause. So several videos ago, maybe 100 videos ago, I discussed some old cities in the mountains of Utah. I think the video is called Utah Ghost Town, and it's way up here in this canyon. A huge, like Peruvian style block wall up here, and tons of brick building, all abandoned. We're told it was a temporary city, and much of it has been and still is being demolished as we speak. Now down here in the neighboring town of Helper, there's a lot of this blockage just scattered around here and there. Let me show you one, for example, down here by the river. Gorgeous place. I've never been here. And here we have the block wall. Just a little building, but again resembling the blocks I see all over this place. All over Utah, for that matter. All over the realm. Sorry. Really washed out image here. But anyway, I found myself sitting here one day, parked here with Chief, and some man walked up. I was taking pictures of this building. I feel like there's another one here somewhere. But this man just rolls up, and we started chatting. Seemed like a wanderer, well-dressed, but a wandering spirit. Pretty cool dude. And I was asking him about the history, if he knew anything, and he told me yes. What he told me is that he was a clamper. I'd never heard of a clamper. Some sort of club. What I now surmise to be some finger, some branch of the controllers. So many clubs, secret clubs. And this one seemed to be on the very end of the totem of hierarchy. But nonetheless, he was proud to be a member of this fraternal organization. The Clampers Club refers to ancient and honorable orders of the E Clampus Vitus fraternal organization, founded during the California Gold Rush to preserve, we are told, and commemorate Western history through elaborate, humorous, and often boisterous events and the erection, here we go, of historical brown plaques. And of course their motto, I believe it because it sounds absurd. So this is pretty key. I mean, anyone who does this research finds these little brown BS signs. Things like this. In fact, there's one right here I can show you. A little area that I sometimes pull off too. And here we have a brown sign. There's a bunch of them here. There's another one here, a little plaque. There's a whole bunch. There's another one over here. It's like they had to tell us all about the history of this area in case we were curious. And really, I don't think it was by accident that I met this man. I mean, like we were just reading in the UK, they're just not sure about the history of the fort that is now for sale. And somebody had to write history, even if they don't know it. And here this club has been tasked with this very thing, to explain away history. Members claim that the organization was brought from the Qing dynasty in China to the United States in 1845. Members claim. And here you can see a couple characters they're depicting. Chairman, a CEO of chapter 75, and they're very comical. I asked the man, what do you do aside from write history on these plaques? And he told me we get together and drink. Here we can see some clampers depicting their red t-shirts, tin and chapter affiliation. Here these men are discussing the lasting effects of the Byzantine and medieval history. The drinking aspects were not entirely abandoned. However, with one man accidentally shot dead during a drunken party in 1967, it seems to no longer be embraced. But according to the man that I met, it absolutely is. Here we can see a plaque in San Francisco, built in 1866, the largest liquor repository on the West Coast. It survived the earthquake and fire. Here we can see their comical angle. It was as if God spanked the town for being over frisky. Why did he burn the churches down and save the whiskey? Dedicated March of 1992. Here we can see past members, really only going back to the 1800s, and pretty fascinating. Let me know if you've ever heard of the Clampers. And you see all the historical plaques that I was showing down here. And just right here I have a pin with no brown sign, with no explanation. I don't know if you can see it. Block wall right here. And there's one more that I showcased in a video right over here. And this one is even better. Let's drop the man and boom. This one is really cool because we not only have the block wall, but we have block buildings as well. You can see those up here. And this is a site I would like to re-explore. My pictures are much better than this, but you get the point. Polygonal building style, no brown sign. Let's take a pause. I rarely do this, but I'm going back to Africa. I feel like I didn't make my point clear. I'm still not sure if I can. These ruins around here, these walls are like 20 feet thick, and they just fuse into what looks natural. There was so much more I wanted to share around this site. Here we can see some kind of statue, and here we can see what I'm talking about. I think that when we see scenes like this, we're dealing with different materials, different melting points, almost having a Peruvian feel, but really having an everywhere feel. If it was in the southwest of the United States, we would be told they were Native American sites, primitive. And they're able to sell us the primitive idea because everything's in such bad shape, almost unrecognizable. Here, for example, we see the ruins of a city, of a brick city in North America. See bricks in the foreground here. And this is supposedly after a fire, but I just want to show you how the buildings almost begin to resemble natural blocks. time and time again. This is an example of a supposed fire in North America, but I think it looks no different than the Croatian islands or the ruins in Africa or even in Utah, the block walls that I was just showing. And finally, one of my favorite subjects is just the roads themselves. The roads and the train tracks are evidence of this lost people and civilization. Notice the roads that you drive on and the train tracks, and you'll see how they're built up. Here, for example, is an abandoned railroad line going over a drainage tunnel, all old, abandoned. This is in Tucson, Arizona, or south of there. And here somebody has built a little house under it, and this channel explored it. But what I was noticing was the road, or the rail line, and how absolutely impossible it would be to build over 150 years ago, and now it's abandoned. I've been building my road up very slowly for 20 years. I just keep adding gravel, a dump truck or two every year or two. And it can't just be dirt. You want it to have raw clay, what they call a road base. The impossibility of the roads, even before we get to the topic of the buildings. Elephant in the room. So enough of me this week. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.